Kaixo, eta ongi etorri Prentsaurreko honetara. Buenas, bienvenidas y bienvenidos a esta rueda de prensa. Hoy tenemos con nosotros, aparte del equipo de la película Blackbird, a concurso y a su vez película inaugural en sección oficial. Y tenemos con nosotros a Sam Neill, actor, Roger Michell, director, y David Bernardi, productor. Como saben, empezamos con el turno de preguntas. Allí, por favor.
Muy buenos días. Pues nada, ante todo, felicidades por la película, que con ese plantel de actores, pues, en fin, se siente uno muy cómodo. Y la verdad es que la inauguración de este año está teniendo pues, una gran fortuna, ¿no? Con la que hemos visto esta mañana y con esta otra. Yo quería hacer un par de observaciones. A mí me ha recordado mucho el argumento de una película con un tema, vamos, con el mismo tema que se presentó aquí en el Festival de San Sebastián hace 5 años, una película danesa que se llama Corazón Silencioso. Y bueno, pues quería ver si efectivamente hay ese paralelismo o no. Y después, bueno, lo bueno de estas dos películas que llevo vistas hoy es que te dan que pensar. Esta mañana el compromiso por los derechos civiles de una joven comprometida. Y esto sobre un tema que realmente nos ocupa. Es curioso, en la película se dice, hubiéramos podido irnos a Europa. Bueno, no a cualquier sitio de Europa, ¿verdad? No en toda Europa se hubiera podido hacer esto, igual que algunos estados en Estados Unidos que sí y otros que no. Pero a mí me ha dado que pensar, nunca lo había hecho, que claro, como la reducción al absurdo o en fin, o los contrafácticos sirven para ver estas cosas, ¿cuándo llegaremos a una sociedad en la que en lugar de hacer un testamento vital o una donación de órganos, haya que hacer lo contrario? Es decir, no quiero testamento vital, no quiero donar órganos, igual que si no te bautizas no eres católico, ¿no? Porque realmente no les resulta sorprendente que aquellos que tienen una fe en una vida ulterior, en la película se ve que efectivamente esta trascendencia falta, ¿no? O sea, normalmente la gente que toma la decisión de no sufrir de balde es gente que no cree en otra realidad y ese tipo de gente, quiero decir, que seguramente no sean consumidores de la película con este tema, nos impiden a los demás poder tomar estas decisiones, ¿no? Bueno, ¿se parece a Corazón Silencioso? ¿Y qué opinan de estas reflexiones?
I agree with everything you just said.
And just for the record, it is a remake of Silent Heart. It's we made a.
It's a reimagining.
Yes.
Elaborate.
I mean, obviously, the film touches on the issue of euthanasia. It doesn't touch on it; it grabs it with both hands. But it's not a polemical film. It's not a campaigning film. It's not encouraging audiences to rush out and man barricades with banners saying, "Let's legalize euthanasia in all countries." As you pointed out in your question, there are several states in America and there are countries in Europe where euthanasia is legal, or there are more relaxed laws surrounding euthanasia. And it'd be ridiculous to claim that in this film, the euthanasia that we describe seems to be a successful and a blessed one. It's literally a good death. Euthanasia means good death in Greek. But the issue of euthanasia is much more complicated than this film would have the temerity to argue. And even in this film, none of the characters appear to believe in God. And even in this film, a lot of the issues surrounding whether she should or she shouldn't make these choices take place purposefully before the film starts. From my own point of view, I'm sensitive to the fact that any legislation around euthanasia has to be handled with great delicacy. There are lots of potential victims to bad euthanasia. You know, the rich, ill relatives of greedy children, old people who are no longer in full charge of their faculties, etc., etc. So I think it's quite hard to legislate around it. I think that things are going to get more extreme as old people last for longer, as they are doing in countries like ours, and old people have strong views about the third age, and they want to be in control of their destinies, both in life and in death.
I was very happy to see you listening to yourself on the little wireless, Roger.
Oh, yeah. I don't need to listen to myself. That's true. But I need to listen to everyone else.
I agree with Roger. I don't think this is this pleads the case for euthanasia. It doesn't take a point of view. It's just something that happens. I think the film is far more about life and living, and I think every time we contemplate death, the reason to do that is to put your own life into some kind of sharp relief and remember that every day might be your last and live that day as well as you possibly can. So the film is about families and about mothers and daughters in particular, and about the complexity of what happens in a weekend when you're faced with something pretty extreme.
Hola, buenas. Precisamente al hilo de que sea un remake, yo quería saber, igual es una pregunta un poco típica en estos casos, pero quería saber si conocían la versión de Billy August y si la tenían vista, si la vieron una vez que empezaron a trabajar o la han visto después. Y luego otra pregunta sobre la escena, la larga secuencia de la cena, donde están todos reunidos cenando. Me gustaría saber, tengo curiosidad por saber cómo se rodó, porque me ha parecido igual la escena más larga, la secuencia más larga de toda la película, quizás, no lo sé, pero quería saber cómo se rodó, cuándo se rodó y qué tal fue ese momento. Gracias.
Okay, to answer the first part of your question, I can do that, can't I? I'll put it here. Yes, we're very aware of the brilliant Billy August film. I haven't seen it for obvious reasons. I look forward to seeing it once the brouhaha has died down surrounding the release of our version of the film. But I hear it's absolutely great. I mean, I think our film is probably quite different, both in terms of the way in which the script evolved, and tonally it feels like it might be a bit different. But I haven't seen the original. I didn't want to be overwhelmed by how great that film was when embarking on making another version of it in English. As to the second part of your question, we shot that very long dinner sequence over a series of 3 or 4, I think, nights. We were working in a house with a lot of glass, as you can see, a lot of glass. So we were unable to shoot day for night, certainly downstairs. So all those scenes we shot night for night. And we rehearsed them quite intensively before we started turning over. We had 2 cameras for those scenes and not really for many of the other scenes. And, you know, it's a tribute to the ensemble that their level of concentration and engagement in those very, very long scenes remained really undimmed between 6 o'clock in the evening and 1 o'clock in the morning. And they are some of the favourite scenes of any film that I've ever made. I think there's some of my favourite moments that occur in those scenes around that table.
I think if I can speak for the rest of the cast, I'm slightly embarrassed to be the only one here. And I have to tell you that all of the cast are very jealous of me. They all wanted to come to San Sebastian, but for one reason or another it was impossible. But I can say with certainty that none of the cast have seen the original film, not out of disrespect for that film at all, but we all felt that we wanted to make something that we wanted to work with Roger, first of all, and make Roger's film. And the second thing was that, you know, personally, I didn't really want to see another actor doing that part before I did it, because I didn't want to. Every actor makes decisions about how they're going to do things in playing a part, and I didn't want to be influenced by another actor's decisions or replicate whatever that actor was doing. And I still haven't gotten plucked up the courage to actually see the original film, just in case that actor is better than me.
Hello, hi there. Congratulations on the film, first of all. Also, you must know everybody was crying so much during the film, so congratulations on that too, I guess. And my question is about the title. Why do you choose to name it like that?
mystery to all of us. The title landed on the film a long time before we started shooting it, and there was a reason for it originally, a more clear reason, which I won't go into. But the title remained, even though the reason for the title dropped away. And then it became clearer to me as we struggled to find another title that we liked. We struggled. We even had a competition, didn't we? We had a crew competition, a crate of champagne for whoever could come up with the best title, and hundreds of titles were submitted. And I think for me, the blackbird has now become, there is a blackbird in the film. You see a blackbird, and you often hear a blackbird in the film. So in a way, the blackbird has become the spirit of Susan's character, and the weekend, and the house itself, the house which is a ninth character, if you like, in the film.
Has a nice enigmatic quality to be a tabula rasa kind of title.
Tabula rasa, very good, yeah.
Hola, muy buenas.
I'm glad you cried. It's good.
Yeah.
Hola, le decía que, bueno, primero felicidades por la película, y mi pregunta iba dirigida a Sam, porque, bueno, habitualmente se dice que en la muerte los que más sufren son los que se quedan, no los que se van. Y quería saber un poco de tu personaje, porque el proceso que pasan las hijas durante la película, tu personaje da la sensación que ya lo ha pasado hace mucho, mucho tiempo. Entonces, ¿cómo es eso de interpretar un personaje tan contenido que lo único que hace es apoyar y soportar todo lo que le cae? Así que quería saber eso. Gracias.
Well, yeah, I'll put this down. Yes, I think the character, playing the character, was an exercise in containment. This is a man who's suppressing a lot of guilt, a lot of grief above all, but also has to keep his shit together, because if he flies apart, there is chaos and the whole family, goes to pieces. So it's a big responsibility and a hideous choice ahead, But it's a choice that's been made very clearly before the film starts, and has to be faced with courage and with as much calm as one can possibly face. And he's got a volatile family. He's got two daughters that are fairly crazy in their own way. And look, it's not easy being a dad. I just speak from personal experience, and the father of daughters, as it happens.
I actually learnt, sparing his blushes, I learnt a lot from watching Sam on this show, and watching him be so understated, so classy, so restrained in his choices. He helped me understand the material, actually, and I thank him. Oh. You weren't expecting that, were you?
Hello, congratulations for the film. I watched it at the Toronto Film Festival, at the premiere of the film, and back then an incident happened during the screening. I mean, at the most dramatic scene, someone had a health issue and they had to cut the screening in the most dramatic scene. I would like to know what was your feelings during that time, because I can understand that for me it was a blocker. I don't know how did everybody felt. Thank you.
I wanted to kill the person who was ill. I'm sorry, but I was so upset, because you're right, it happened absolutely at the moment of truth in our film, and we were like 2 or 3 minutes from the end of the film. And as a director, all your compassion and love of humanity flies out of the window when the lights go on. The film stopped, and then the ignominy of watching this man actually stand up and walk out of the cinema on his own 2 feet. Why didn't he just delay his little snooze until the credits? I was very upset by it. And I work in the theatre a lot, and it's happened to me twice recently in theatre, where we've had to stop the show to get people out of the theatre who have been overwhelmed by emotion or heat or exhaustion, I don't know what. But I think everyone should have their blood pressure checked before they go into these screenings.
Yeah, it was quite a thing. We thought, you know, is someone dying? This is terrible. And then it just turned out he'd fainted. Well, you know, faint in your own time, I say. But it's possible that this film will have this effect on many. And let's touch wood, no one dies tonight. Sorry to sound so brutal.
Hola, buenas. Felicidades por la película. He preguntado a algunos de mis compañeros y han llorado como unas magdalenas, o sea que buen trabajo. Felicidades. Y mi pregunta era si viendo tantas secuencias dramáticas, ¿cómo se enfrentan los actores y directores ante estas secuencias? ¿Cómo se preparan y si es más fácil teniendo en cuenta que hay grandes actores alrededor? Eso es todo.
It's easier doing tragedy than comedy. Comedy's hard. Doing this kind of thing, there's nearly always, and you'll bear me out, Sam, a spirit of fun and of mischief on the set, so that the enormous emotional sort of baggage of the scenes is offset by the spirit of the set, which is full of laughter and engagement and life, actually. So I didn't find it as much struggle as making a comedy, which when you start shooting a comedy within 2 or 3 minutes, it's not funny, you know, and you just have to keep doggedly pursuing it. We also had this extraordinary ensemble of actors, and oddly, for the first time in my career, because everyone was there the whole time, and because everyone lived within 5 minutes of where we were shooting in that lovely house, we were able to shoot the film almost in story order, which is a very, very rare thing in movies. You usually have to start in the middle and then shoot the end, and et cetera, et cetera. So there did develop amongst us, I think, perhaps with a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, but a very strong sense of collective bond and intimacy, which may have been short-lived, but was very intense and real, I think, while it was going on. Indeed, at the end of the shoot, this was Kate Winslet's idea. We all got a tattoo. We were tattooed in honour of Blackbird. So I've never had a tattoo before, but that's a measure of how drunkenly supportive we were of each other. And I think some of that spirit is clear in the film, in the finished film.
It's very, 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 very close and tight cast. We all got on really well from day one, and we still keep in touch. Every day I will send them a report about what you've said. So if you want a message to Kate Winslet, I'm your man.
Bueno, lo primero, enhorabuena por la película. Quería preguntarle por un lado a Roger Michell que bueno, que esos momentos que tiene la película de comedia nos dan mucho aire fresco y quería saber cómo se construyen en el rodaje, pues, porque entiendo que así no ha sido nada fácil. Y por otro lado a Sam Neill quería preguntarle que mientras estaba viendo la película todo el rato me venía a la cabeza la pregunta: ¿qué hubiera hecho si esto me pasara a mí? ¿Cómo me habría comportado yo como hija? O como, quería saber si esto también te había pasado a ti, y de haberte pasado, pues cómo te afecta eso a la hora de interpretar tu personaje. Muchas gracias a los dos.
Do you want to go?
No, you go first.
Look, there's something about this film that I think almost everyone understands about families. Families can be awkward and funny, embarrassing, and terrible and beautiful. And every family has some level of dysfunctionality, you know. and this family is no different. As far as my behavior goes, you know, I was talking about it this morning. My mother, who was a most beautiful, lively, funny, a bright woman, died with dementia, and it was humiliating and really, really heartbreakingly sad. And I know my mother would have echoed my father's words. When my father was dying, he said, "Why doesn't someone just put me out of my misery, like my dogs? And you know, just come here and get the doctor and put me down. Had enough of dying." And my mother would have wanted the same, rather than those 2 years of misery, which dementia is. And so I'm also now at the age where I'm thinking, Christ, am I going to get dementia myself? In which case, I would like someone to come and pull my plug. So, yeah, it's all pretty, you know, close to home, very close to home.
The other part of your question was about the jokes, I think, and I don't like doing films without jokes, and particularly films about serious issues, because I think there tends to be dark humour around our behaviour in these circumstances, and I think it's true, and I think it feels true, a true type of behaviour to laugh and to be alive, and in a way the film's more about life than it is about death.
I think you sometimes laugh and cry at the same time. Like just after Kate and Rain arrive and they're in the bedroom, talking about how maybe Susan doesn't like the gift. I found after every take, I was crying after every take because Kate's heart is broken, but she's also sardonically sad, and Rain is trying to defend that that's not how Susan was appreciating the gift. And it literally crying and laughing at the same time every take and every time I've seen it. So I think
David was our cryometer during the shoot. If David wasn't crying, then we went and did it again.
We also had, among the cast, and I was really struck by it, seeing it for the second time in Toronto. Rainn Wilson, who plays, the awkward son-in-law, is just fantastically good in this, and so funny. There's not one beat in the film where he's not kind of tragically funny. I cannot say enough good things about Rainn. I just think he's amazing. He's a proper comedian.
Hola, buenas tardes. Roger Michell ha dicho antes que este no es un film para hacer campaña hacia un lado o hacia otro, pero toca un tema importante. La pregunta, tanto para Sam Neill como para Roger Michell, es ¿qué importante es el cine para poner sobre la mesa temas como este para que la gente, después de ver una película, los pueda comentar?
I think any film that makes you go out of the cinema with a discussion that you need to have is useful. Not all films are like that. I think this film is like that. I think people will come out debating with each other and reflecting on their own lives and reflecting on the ends, perhaps, the ends of their lives, however distant those ends might appear to be right now. And I also want to remind myself really of how important cinema is as an expression of social issue, simply in the way in which it's watched. You know, the idea that we're watching these films in big groups, hopefully large groups of audiences, watching these films together in the same room. There's something extremely powerful about that when the film is full of ideas, as this one is. It's been powerful since the Greeks did theatre. You know, this idea of collectively watching and assessing and judging a piece of fiction which has humanity and ideas within it. And I hope that this kind of film won't be ghettoized onto streaming channels because the cinemas are only really a fit place for Marvel heroes in the future.
Yes, I think on that note, the takeaway will be not so much that issue that we've just been talking about, but it'll be, for instance, every mother and daughter that sees this film will want to call, say, hello, Mum, we really need to talk.
Yeah.
We need to resolve some things. We need to sit down and just while we have the chance, let's just be open and talk. I think that's the takeaway, actually.
I agree. When I first read the script, the issues, if you will, that presented themselves to me was how honest you have to be to the people you love the most, especially your family, your children, and how we want to see people versus how they really are. And that's sort of what I thought the issues were about, is how well do you know your children and how honest must you be with the people you love the most, more than euthanasia, really.
Hola, buenas. Bueno, en realidad me acabáis de robar la pregunta. No he parado de llorar en toda la película, pero sin embargo no he salido triste. He salido pensando que la película habla de amor y de las cosas que no nos decimos y quedan pendientes, ¿no? Son dos hermanas que ni siquiera se conocen, no paran de reprocharse, bueno, trapos sucios, son unas desconocidas y sin embargo en una situación límite se abren en canal y parece que entonces empiezan, ¿no?, un recorrido como hermanas que son. Y quería enfocar la casa como una bomba de relojería. Cada vez que aparecía la casa, eso era un escenario con los sentimientos a punto de explotar, emociones. Y si es una situación límite la que muchas veces nos lleva al final a abrirnos y a decir tantas cosas que tenemos pendiente. Y yo es en esas reflexiones que he salido del cine hoy y también tengo cuentas. Gracias.
Thank you.
That's a really great analysis.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Tenemos tiempo para una última pregunta, por favor.
Quería preguntar a Sam Neill, las actrices de una cierta edad suelen decir que los actores lo tienen muchísimo mejor para madurar en el cine. Y le quería preguntar si está de acuerdo con esta afirmación o al contrario, si lo desmentiría o realmente es más fácil madurar haciendo cine para un actor.
Oh my God, that is a minefield, isn't it? That's just so much trouble right there in that question. Look, I think those issues are being increasingly addressed, and look, isn't it wonderful to see someone like Susan Sarandon, who I think is going to get nominated for everything that's going. I think she's almost as old as I am, and flying in a leading performance like this. And look, I think that business of aging, I quite like it myself. I've always said, I always have a big party with my friend Brian Brown at the end of, every 10 years we mark the end of a decade and have a big party. And lot of rock and roll and bad behavior. And every time we have one of those, I always reflect on the last decade of my life thinking, that was better than the one before. And I have to say I'm really enjoying this decade, and I'm touching wood here that I've got 3 more to go. But this bullshit about how aging is crap, don't subscribe to it. It's nonsense. There's so much, and it's such a modern thing too, isn't it? It used to be that our elders were respected, were revered. I'd like a little more of that, especially from my children. I'm an elder now, and it's bloody good.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, no tenemos tiempo para más.
Thank you.